a transformative technology whose time has come dominates the world. It's CK, you've said on the rounds a lot. Whenever I hear you talking about Bitcoin, you say Bitcoin is a binary bet. What exactly do you mean by that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a broken record, so I only got like 2 talking points, but I think that they're important. So I'm just going to keep hammering away at them. But I mean, what I mean by that is I think that the way that Bitcoin operates is that it is a game theoretical incentive system that is designed to continue to perpetuate itself. And the reason why it is designed to continue to perpetuate itself is because if it can continue to perpetuate itself, then that means it can continue to enforce the ledger, which has a bunch of rules that we find favorable, like the 21 million hard cap. So the whole bet here is, can this incentive system continue to perpetuate itself? And is it effectively human incentive proof? And will it enforce the perfect money system, or will it not? Is the incentive system broken? Like, that's it. And I really do not think that there's this like weird world where Bitcoin continues to persist, but it's like just some other asset. Like, I think right now is the anomaly. This is the anomaly where there's still a cornucopia of all these assets that we all want to invest in, and Bitcoin is one of them, amongst a bunch of shit coins. Like, this is the anomaly. Right now, what we're living through right now is not what, in my opinion, is not what the future is going to look like. It's either going to look like Bitcoin is the thing, it's dominant, is worked, and it will be I call it the substrate in which humans allocate resources, or it won't, and it most likely will die and go to zero, and no one will care about it because it can't perpetuate itself. But I don't think that we're going to like live in this world where it is going to continue to perpetuate itself. The incentives work, but it's just whatever. Like, no one cares about it. It's just some other asset. So I don't know. I know that you also agree that Bitcoin is binary. I'm kind of curious what you thought of how I articulated that.
That's exactly how I see it, dude. Like, I think the larger Bitcoin gets, the higher the probabilities get that Bitcoin is going to take over the entire world. Like, the higher the price of Bitcoin goes up, the stronger the fundamentals of the network get. So the higher the price goes up, more people want to mine Bitcoin, the stronger the network gets. The higher the price goes up, the more people are incentivized to build out second layer solutions like the Lightning Network, which just only further accelerates and improves the Bitcoin fundamentals. I also have a very similar view to you. I don't see Bitcoin getting to $1 million a coin and it just staying there. Like, when Bitcoin gets through these fundamental kind of price points, like 500,000 or $1 million, it's going to wake up so many other people's minds in the world to, hang on a minute, I need to really study this thing. I need to study what Bitcoin is. And when you study what Bitcoin is, it is unequivocally 1,000 times better than any other asset class in the world. You mentioned asset classes being shitcoins a minute ago, CK. Why do you think Bitcoin is a better investment for storing your value than, let's say, real estate, for example?
Okay, so I mean, I would like even kind of zoom out and be like, for Bitcoin to work, $1 million a coin is not going to work, right? Because like, if Bitcoin is going to become the global substrate of value in which everyone not only holds their value, but mentally articulates and thinks about value. Like, if Bitcoin is to become that, like, we're talking about tens of trillions of dollars of like free float moving, liquid on the market at all times. Like, that's what's happening in the legacy, system. So like, the $1 million a coin idea is a joke. Like, it's nothing. Like, we're talking about a disgusting amount per coin. If we're talking about it actually becoming, replacing the existing system. So I mean, I could keep going deeper into all the little things that I think, uh, make me think that about Bitcoin, and how I think that Bitcoin is actually going to even go beyond, our wildest imaginations in terms of value. Um, but I think it's really important for people to understand that like we're not talking about anything within the old realm, right? And we're also talking about Bitcoin becoming like taking over what is currently being kind of valued across tons and tons of assets right now, right? We're talking about euro dollars, we're talking about IOUs, we're talking about derivatives on derivatives, we're talking about real estate, we're talking about stocks, we're talking about so much value is like in this kind of like weird, like obfuscated form right now. And we're talking about Bitcoin overtaking all of that, right? And servicing all of those markets in terms of value transfer and storage. And I just don't think that people are even remotely thinking in the orders of magnitude that they should be. So it's difficult. It's counterintuitive to think this way. That's why I don't think most people are thinking this way. But I think the reason why they're thinking this way is because they also think we can live in a world where Bitcoin is just some other asset, right? They don't realize that Bitcoin's incentive structure either perpetuate it into the future, and it will overtake all these things because it can perpetuate the perfect monetary supply and the perfect money, and that can now exist and be used, or the incentives don't work and it breaks down and it falls apart and no one gives a shit. Like they think that we can live in this world where Bitcoin somehow works, but maybe there's not enough fees, and then maybe we'll like fork with the miners to make the incentives work in the future, but it's going to exist and there'll be other cryptocurrencies. Like they think that there's this like world where there are lots of assets and even more assets that will eternally compete with each other. And I just don't think that that's the future that we're moving towards in this Bitcoin game. Now that the next steel, the next gunpowder has been invented, which is the perfect monetary supply, on the perfect digital and known monetary supply. I mean, I think there's a lot of ways that we can describe it, but I call it the metric system for value. Like once the metric system was invented, like we weren't going back. And the cool thing about the metric system is that it's like completely based in water, right? So, water freezes at 0, boils at 100, and then everything else is a derivative of that. So it is very intuitive. And I think Bitcoin is like that for value. It puts 21 million, it puts a denominator on things. And now you can count. Now you can actually count value. You can actually make economic decisions without the craziness of the current financial system, where people are listening to central bankers, the high priests of fiat, trying to figure out what the hell is happening, right? So we are living in the monetary separation of church and state. We're living in the scientific revolution of value. We are moving past theology when it comes to how value should be transferred and who controls it. And we are moving into the realm of thermodynamics and mathematics for value. And like people are just not grokking what that means. They're not, and then on top of that, they're not applying what that means to 21 million. So I'm sorry, I went totally off the rocker, I totally didn't answer your question, but I just thought that I needed to clarify that.
No, you answered it beautifully, and there's no way in the world I was going to stop you during the middle of that rant. That was beautiful, man. That's exactly how I see, Bitcoin. That's what it is. If it is everything, it's $1 million a coin is absolutely peanuts. That's not even 1 to 2% global adoption. A disgusting amount per coin is what you're going to be able to buy. And we're talking about, I've heard you talk about $26 million a pop for a price of one Bitcoin. I've run some numbers and said if Bitcoin captures just 30% of the wealth that's available today, you're looking at $65 million a coin per Bitcoin. And we're talking about not hyperinflated dollars either. We're talking about today's purchasing power. So when we're talking about, $50 million Bitcoin, we're saying that's going to be buying you $10 million Malibu beach houses in California. Like, that's the purchasing power we're talking about. That is the disgusting amount of goods and services.
I still think that that's bearish. Like, that
Agreed.
is assuming that there's other ways to manage your value, right? That Bitcoin is just some other asset. Like, personally, I think this rubs people the wrong way, but I really like the 37 sats as generational wealth because it's so provocative and so jarring. But if I'm right about Bitcoin, then it's more directionally correct than $10 million Bitcoin. Like, if Bitcoin works, it's more likely that 37 sats equals generational wealth than one Bitcoin equaling $10 million.
That's all I've got time for you guys today. If you did enjoy that short little video, feel free to slap a like on the video and subscribe to the channel so you're notified the next time I drop one of these videos. And a little bit of housekeeping, if you enjoyed that little snippet from that interview with CK, you're going to love the 1.5 hour conversation we recently had. I'm going to link to the full video up on screen. It should be actually somewhere over there. Highly recommend you check that one out. And stay tuned because we have episodes dropping with Jeff Booth and Alex Svetsky in the very near future. In the meantime, feel free to check us out on Twitter. We host a Saturday Spaces session every single Saturday afternoon. For anyone who doesn't know what they are, they're just simply like a live call. So feel free to come along on Twitter and join in those conversations. They happen every Saturday arvo. You can see this is the CoinBeast Twitter profile that I manage. Again, come check us out. Subscribe to the newsletter if you are interested in the content we're pumping out. And in the meantime, if you need any technical support, check out CoinBeast Connect and get yourself $10 of free Bitcoin using the link in the description of today's video. If you sign up with Swan Bitcoin, we're really happy to be partnering up with Swan. They're another great Bitcoin only educational company and they'll let you buy Bitcoin. You get $10 of Bitcoin just for signing up with Swan, so check them out. The links to everything's in the description. And without further ado, I'll see you guys in the next video.